Why are we always trying to catch up to these people? In every aspect of our lives, when you take a look at it, be it legal services, health services, anything, we're always playing catch up. So we just want to be treated equally, that's all.
Our First Nations are so far behind, economically for living in, being the first people of one of the wealthiest countries in the world. A lot of our people are still living in third world conditions in our communities.
There's just like train tracks, and on the other side of the train tracks or the other side of the road, there's complete services and there's no gaps. There's clean drinking water, there's housing, there's all these things. On the other side of the tracks where the reserve is, you see it's like a cliff fall off.
I know our roads are falling apart. We have aging buildings. Our water plant is over 70 years old. Come live in our communities. Try it for a month. See how you do. Whether you don't have internet, whether the house you're in has a leaky roof, you can't drink the water that comes out of the taps. It frustrates me because all of it is a basic need. Basic human need to have a roof over your head, to be able to drink water that comes out of the tap. Come actually see what it's like to live in our shoes. Let that open your eyes.
My community, we need housing, but that's the bare minimum. We also need healthcare centers, better schools, and also a better water plant. We have some houses have 20 people in a 2-bedroom. Also, that affects your mental health a lot. We have a climate problem and also an unclean water problem that we need solved not 5-10 years in the future, but right now. We need to stop the bleeding wound before we go after the broken bone.
How can we expect people to thrive or to even survive in our communities when they don't have a bed to sleep in, a house? They can't go to a good school. They're learning their lessons in tents outside because of whatever reason with their school being unsafe. Everyone has a hand in fixing this, since they all had a hand in creating this infrastructure gap.
Sometimes it feels like we are homeless in our own homelands, and that is not that is not something that should be happening. We need to prioritize First Nations well-being, and to do so we have to start with those very basic needs so that we can have a roof over our heads, we have safe clean drinking water, and that we can educate our kids in our communities, and we can thrive and grow as we should in our own homes.
So it does slow down the economic improvement of First Nations community when these services are lacking. And these are basic human rights services that I believe that every human being is entitled to have.
Our demographics is the fastest growing demographic in Canada, and that means that the demand for housing, the demands for more schools or more spaces in the school is growing faster than non-Indigenous, and the government of Canada needs to make investments into our communities that's reflective of that.
We are not asking you to fix our problem. Our people, our communities know what we could do. We know what needs to be done.
It's time to close the infrastructure gap.
It's time to close the infrastructure gap.
It's time to close the infrastructure gap.
It's time to close the infrastructure gap.